Hi, I'm Beth from Restyle Pieces Boutique. Welcome back to my channel. Today, I'm in the middle of right now working on this dresser. It is on how to add molds to your furniture. So that whole process, including the full makeover, is coming up. So stay tuned. So I'm starting out with this ugly picture. I forgot to take a before picture, so that was the seller's picture, but you can kind of get the idea. So here I'm just taking off the hardware and making sure that I keep all those pieces together. When you take off these escutcheon plates, you want to make sure you put your painter's tool up in there gently, kind of tap on it a little bit and just do a little at a time so you won't bend them. I'm taking my Pure Power from Evolution Paint. It is a great degreaser, cleaner, and gets my furniture piece prepped. This was a yardstick that they had attached in here. I didn't want to take it off. I just thought it was interesting. It's on the inside of the piece and doesn't bother anything, so I just left it there. I'm removing these old casters on the bottom because I'm going to replace them with new ones that are a tiny bit bigger and just look a lot nicer, and they are more functional. So they just came right off, no problem. And here I'm sanding the rough underside of this frame. It just was kind of rough and needed some smoothing down. And then I'm taking my Surf Prep sander and I'm scuff sanding the entire piece. Scuff sanding just smooths your surface out. You don't want to go to bare wood, so I'm using like a 180 here, and I'm just smoothing out that surface, scuffing up the old finish so that my paint will have something to stick to. I was going to sand off this top and stain it, but after a while I realized it wasn't going to work. There were too many deep gouges in the veneer. I also was taking too long to sand, so I used this carbide scraper. This is a time saver for me. I hate to strip furniture. I don't like the goop and the smell and the gunk. So I use this carbide scraper to just scrape off the finish that's on there, some of the finish, so that it makes the sanding much, much easier. And you can see as I'm moving along in this sanding, so much easier to get that finish off. So now for the star of the show, I have my molds. Some of them are from Pre-Memory Design. Some of them are from just Amazon. And this is my amazing casting resin. It's a 2-part material, and I'll show you that in just a minute. I use these skewers to kind of move the liquid around, and I'll show you that. Titebond quick and thick glue, and my little cup to stir it in. So I pull out both of the bottles. There's 2 parts. There's an A and a B. I like to mark my cup too, so I keep putting it in the same cup. You use equal parts, part A and part B. I like to get down on eye level to make sure that those are both even because you don't want the formula to be off whatsoever. So I mix them into my cup, mix, mix, mix for about 30 seconds. Now, whoops. I made a mess. You can see that. If you mix way more than 30 seconds, which I did the first time, your molds are going to be, or your mold material is going to be kind of globby, and it's going to set up really quickly, and you may not have time to finish pouring what you want to pour. Here, I just used a little bit my first time, so I wouldn't do too many molds at one time and get ahead of myself because it starts to set up very quickly, as you can see. So as you can see here, I am taking these skewers and I'm just pushing that liquid over into those tiny little recesses. You want to make sure that liquid is in every little part of your mold. Batch set up really quickly, as I said, like 5 minutes or less. You can see it set up when it's white, it turns white. And if you tap on it, it sounds very solid. So the second time what I did is I wanted to fill some more of these. So I got more liquid than I did the first time. And I only stirred for about 30 seconds, which is what you're supposed to do. And they didn't set up quite as quickly, which I found to be helpful. While they're setting up, they do emanate heat. So they get a little hot and a little warm. And so don't worry about that. That's very normal. I feel like this is something I did back in elementary school. I don't remember really, but filling these little molds, and it just seems like something familiar to me. It was really fun. You just have to be careful not to overfill them so you get too much material on the outside, because it's kind of hard to pick them off in between when you remove the molds. And then you want to make sure they're pretty much level. If you don't get them all the way full, they'll be a little concave and they'll be hard to glue to your piece. Oh, so then I got all brave and I just started going for it. I was filling molds and making a big mess, as you can see. But I got more comfortable as I went along, and it just kind of flowed after a while. So just practice. So as I said, when they turn white, and you can kind of feel when you start to just press on the back of the mold, they just pop out. If you tap on them, they're really firm. And look at that detail. I just love when I pull those out and I can see that all the details there. So easy to pop out. Just push on the back and out they come. I love the details in these little scrunchy leaves. Now see that bottom of the leaf or the stem of the leaf? It's a little harder to get out. You might have to be a little bit careful, but look at that, such cute detail. And I pour these at different times if you remember watching, and that one's not dry yet. So you can tell it's still a little sticky. I put all of my pieces that I've done on a flat surface. When they're completely hard, then I put them in my basket and I'm ready to go. And I'm going to do a whole big another batch. Now, if you want to do a mold that's going to curve around something like a corner of your dresser, you're going to have to pop them out and just do that within the first 3 to 5 minutes and glue them on. So here you can see I'm placing them all on my dresser, and I'm trying to decide where I want them. I put the hardware on so that I wouldn't have them interfering with the hardware when I was finished. I want to make a little swoosh up the side of the dresser and then one swooshing down on the other side. So coming up, you'll see what I said about them getting hard, and then if you wait too long, they're hard. I could not trim this up on this edge of the dresser to go from the frame to the drawers because it was too hard. So I had to wait till later, make more molds, and then after 2 or 3 minutes, then I cut them. Here I'm gluing on with my Type Bond. I was really careful, especially on the sides of the dresser, to tape them well because I wanted to make sure that they were secured well to the dresser and that they would last for a long time. This quick and thick Type Bond glue is a multi-purpose glue, and it works so well. These are so sturdy and so durable, and I don't think there's any way, unless you really tried, that you're going to get these off. I found this whole process just relaxing and enjoyable. And even though it took a lot of time, I did part of it on one day and part of it on another day because it does get tiring. And so, but I just loved the process and just kind of losing myself in the design and creating something, hopefully, that was going to be beautiful. If you're wondering what I'm doing with the paintbrush, I started, and sometimes I still would use the blue shop towel, a damp shop towel, to wipe up all the glue that was seeping around in the edges. But I quickly realized that if I took a wet paintbrush and kind of just brushed toward the piece, the mold that I was working on, that it took that glue off and hid the glue if there was any left to dry. And then I'd wipe it on a towel in between. It's so much fun to watch this design take shape. And here we are moving on to the top. After that dried overnight, I took a nice, soft, bristled Farmhouse paint brush, and I went through and brushed gently all those pieces and the crevices, so I made sure I got any loose bits of paint off or any dust before I went on to the next step. Here I'm just priming the top with Ben Primer. It's a shellac-based primer, and I don't want those tannins in that wood, since I sanded it to bare wood. I don't want those to bleed through and make any pink marks or problems when I try to paint it. So I'm just going to prime the top by hand with the Ben Primer shellac. I use a roller because I don't want to run it through my sprayer. It is not water cleanup. And here I'm using half vinegar and half water to boil this hardware and try to get it as clean as I can. I use 4-0 steel wool, definitely gloves, and a little pliers to get it out of the water because, of course, it's hot. Didn't clean up very well, so I'm going to spray paint that. The next morning, after the top dried and I just wanted to give it some time to dry, I used my light gray Kills Restoration Primer to prime the entire piece. So it doesn't hurt to have another coat of primer on the top, which is the most raw wood. And then the rest of it, I primed with this light gray primer because I'm using a light color. It's great for bleed through, and I can run it through my sprayer. I also decided to spray the back just to make it look a little more cohesive. I don't always do that, but the back was kind of not as pretty, and I wanted the whole piece to look a little more finished. I'm using my Flexio 5000 from Wagner, and this is one of my favorite parts. Watch how those designs, those molds, just blend in now with the rest of the piece. It's so exciting to me. So I let the primer dry overnight, give it a little light sand, and now I'm ready for my color. Farmhouse Evolution Paint in Milky Way. What a beautiful, warm, neutral. I can't wait to paint this and see what the result is. I do thin my paint a little bit, just a little bit, to get it to go through my sprayer and give me a smooth finish. The next morning, I took Farmhouse Paint, It's the Bomb, wood conditioner and polish, and check out the magic that happens. It takes outdated, old, dry wood and nourishes and conditions. Look at that shine. I do this on the insides and outsides of my drawers and the drawer runners and the inside of the dresser. And here I've decided I need a little highlight. So I'm taking Cosmic White, Farmhouse Paint, Evolution Paint, and I'm just going to lightly dry brush. So I dip my brush, I wipe it on a paper towel and get most of it off, and then I just kind of dry brush and go over each of those areas of the mold to just add a little highlight. Adding this lighter color to highlight the molds just kind of makes them pop even more. So just a reminder of where we were and now where we've ended up. So light and bright and lovely. I added some drawer liners that coordinate, and you can see how that white in the details just makes those details pop. Such a gorgeous design. When you use these molds, you'll be so excited at the result. Thanks for watching today. I would really appreciate it if you would subscribe to my channel and hit that bell button, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.